Hey guys, welcome back to 428 Shibuya Scramble. This is TJA Gamer Girl signing off. So, last episode, we basically finished up Kano's current block. And it's basically been most likely confirmed that, according to Stanley, I don't know how much I trust Stanley. Despite the bro moment that he and Kano had, I don't know if I really trust him. He said Alphard, and that's a name that came up from a conversation between Kanan, Achi, and Hitomi, so that's more than likely true. Alphard has infected Madia with the Ua virus. And 4 hours from that point, she's going to become symptomatic and spread the virus throughout the entirety of Shibuya. There will be no one will be safe. And we thought, oh, maybe they just want the antiviral, so they need to get Tanaka and Osawa to work with them. Tanaka was the only one that was complicit in it. But he's dead now. He's dead from an explosion. His body is charred beyond recognition, and I think his fingerprint is just gone. We can technically still get the antiviral if we could just find out what his password for it was. That shouldn't be hard, right? If we go digging through his shit. But things are really starting to crank up. Oh, man. Before the news was shared with the Osawas, the members of the investigation team quietly briefed Detective Kajiwara. Osawa and I sat on the sofa on the far side of the room watching. They could see Kajiwara go pale. He wiped the sweat from his forehead with a handkerchief several times. Bad news, Osawa thought. Mr. Osawa? Ma'am? Kajiwara shuffled his way over to them at last. We've just gotten a word from headquarters. That probably would have been another way to jump to Kano had I needed to. He hesitated ominously. Osawa braced himself. Please, let's hear it. It would seem that your daughter Maria is safe. What? Osawa felt an unexpected surge of relief. You mean it? The case has been solved? Added I. For a moment they almost sounded like a happily married couple. It was only the stern look on Kajiwara's face that gave them pause. However, as of yet, we do not have her in custody. I'm not sure I understand, Osawa said. You know she's alive, but you don't have her. How? Deep furrows appear on Kajiwara's forehead. I'm sorry, sir. The information we've received from up top is complicated. We've confirmed that she was able to escape confinement. It's just... The detective gave every appearance of holding something back. If there's something you need to tell us, then just say it, Osawa told him. It would seem that Maria has been infected with a virus. Infected? Osawa felt as if a talent claw just clutched his heart. It's not one I've ever heard of before, but... Apparently it's called the Ua virus. Osawa's vision went dark. He felt as if he'd plunged into a black void of despair. Darling? I asked raspily. She didn't need to put her fears into words. Osawa felt them just as plainly in his own gut. You're an expert on virology, aren't you, Mr. Osawa? Kajiwara said. Are you familiar with this Ua virus? Osawa held up a hand to forestall further questions. There was no time for that. How many hours ago was she infected? He demanded. I wasn't told that much. Is that important to know, sir? Depending on when Maria was affected, we may or may not still be... Osawa trailed up abruptly, as the reality of the situation struck home. This wasn't the same as when Hitomi had been infected. Right now, there was no way of getting Tanaka's cooperation, which meant there was no way of accessing the antiviral storage. In other words, getting the cure to Maria would be impossible. Also, his head swam. Ted Kajiwara, I beg of you, your people need to catch Tanaka as soon as possible. I can't share the details, but if you don't, something terrible is going to happen. Just then, Kajiwara's cell phone rang. He picked up quickly. What did you say? The detective's shout shattered the anxious silence that had fallen. I shuddered visibly at the outburst. Kajiwara nodded sharply, still listening. More creases formed in his forehead. Understood. I'll let them know. He hung up. All eyes were on him. That was headquarters. Osoa swallowed the lump in his throat. He could feel himself quaking all over. A minivan we believe belonged to the syndicate exploded near Jinan in Shibuya. A body was found amongst the burning wreckage of the vehicle. Who was it? Osoa interjected. Tell me! Please don't let it be Maria. Please don't let it be Hitomi. Kajiwara took a breath before speaking. We've conclusively identified the remains as Mr. Tanaka's. No! The cry was visceral, almost bird-like. Also, I looked around in surprise. Yeah, those two were dating, weren't they? Like, that was Osoa's theory. It was I. It's not true! You're lying! Her shrill screams reverberated through the room. Also, I felt like he wanted to scream too. With Tanaka dead, there was no way to get to the antiviral. Which meant that Maria was going to die. Oh boy! Things are really starting to ramp up. And I'm just like, who do I want to do? Because everyone was left off on such a big cliffhanger. We might as well start with Maria. Again. I walk counter to the throng of people heading toward the scene of the explosion. There's a gun pressed against my back, leaving me no choice but to continue marching forward. I don't have time for this right now. There's something I need to do. My frantic sense of urgency grows and grows. Kanan. The only clue I have is that name. The other hazy snippets that have surfaced in my memory provide no answers. Please, just tell me, I murmur. Do you know who I am? When the man with the cane doesn't answer, I stop in my tracks. I'm going to start shouting, I warn him. If you want to find out who you are, then do as I say. The barrel of the gun jabs more forcefully into my back. Once we find Hitomi Osoa, you'll remember, whether you like it or not. Guess I have no choice but to keep moving then. Are your memories really that precious to you? The man mutters as we start to move again. I'm taken aback by the question. Well, yes. I mean, isn't that pretty normal? There's a bit of a pause before he replies. His voice sad and distant. You're not going to remember just the good times, you know. Well, what do you mean? I mean that sad and painful memories are going to resurface too. I guess I hadn't really thought about that. But still, whatever kind of memories they are, they're all a part of me. I'm the person I am now because of the sorrow and pain too. I want to remember. I want to remember who I am. The gunman directs me dispassionately along a series of quiet side streets. Right here. I stop at his words. In front of us is an old multi-tenant office building. We ride the elevator to the 8th floor, then use the emergency exit to take the stairs up to the rooftop. A cool breeze blows across my cheek. Sit down there. I do as he says, settling myself on the outdoor air conditioning unit. The man lowers his gun but keeps it in his hand. We'll wait for you here for a bit. For how long? He lets out a rueful chuckle. Guess we'll have to wait and see. I decide there's no point in trying to fight with him. For now, I have to hope he's telling the truth, then whatever's coming will help me get my memories back. If I don't know my past, how can I know what to do about this Kanan stuff or anything else? I stare up at the sky as I wait for whatever this assassin is waiting for. The silence between us is suffocating. Finally, I can't take it any longer. Hey, so I think this is yours. I hold out the notebook I picked up earlier. The man's surprise is plain on his face. Where did you get that? I saw the picture inside. He snatches the book out of my hand. He flips through it. Then he flips through it, looking sad. I'm afraid that another agonizing silence is about to descend when he speaks at last. This is a picture of me and my childhood friends. His voice was low and quiet. We were inseparable back when we were kids. The boy here? He liked to fiddle with machines. Always doing things like taking apart radios and whatnot and putting them back together. He was a total bookworm too, so he got picked on a lot. But I was always there to save him from the bullies. All of a sudden, the guy's in a sharing mood, I guess. I can feel his aura of murderous rage starting to abate. The girl here was the same age as us, but she felt more like a big sister. Whatever stupid things my other friend and I got up to, she was always willing to laugh it off. I decided to stay quiet and keep listening. We both had a thing for her. A bashful little smile comes to his face. When we were in high school, she told me that she liked me too. So the two of us started dating. But I just have to ask. What about the other guy? He never said anything. I'm not sure how he felt deep down. Oh, alright. So then is she your wife now? No. We broke up not too long afterward. The man carefully slips the notebook into the pocket inside his jacket. How come? It was nothing in particular, really. Things just didn't work out. He lets out a little chuckle and then stands up and brushes the dust off his pants. He looks strangely lonely. Wait. No. Love tinkering with machines. Let's not. I have to wonder if the girl in the picture is I when she was a kid. Or maybe not, because the way she reacted, it seems like Tanaka was the one she was dating before she got hitched to Osawa. Let's continue Achi. Achi could hear ambulance and police sirens wailing on the main road. She looked down at Hitomi, slumped on a park bench beside him. You're sure you're not hurt? He asked quietly, offering her a bottle of water. I'm okay. Hitomi took a sip from the bottle. Thanks. I think I managed to calm down some. Some of the color had finally returned to her face. So, Achi began hesitantly. Inside that minivan. Maria wasn't in there. There was relief in her voice, but also a note of pathos. I got a look through the windshield. There was a man laid out in the back seat, but nobody else. The dark cloud lifted from Achi's face. So, it wasn't your sister? No, I didn't see his face. Just that he was wearing a business suit. Achi felt the tension ebbing from his body. That's good then. That it wasn't her. I'd been worried. It was a shame about the poor devil who had been killed, though. Who was it, and why had he been there? So, I guess now we're out of leads. Oh, that was Hitami. She hung her head. We could try the surveillance center again for now, Achi said. It'll probably give us better odds in finding your sister than just walking around. I guess you're right. Shall we then? Hold on. Achi had a sudden flash of inspiration. My house is a lot closer from here. Maybe I should ask my dad if we can check the cameras from home. You can do that? We have the same system at our house. I'm sure my dad will let us use them. The two got up and headed for Endo Electronics. Achi decided to let his father know they were coming. He turned on his phone as they walked along. He'd had it off for a while, so first he checked his voicemail. There was one message. Wondering who might have called, he played it back. Is this Achi Endo's personal cell phone? This is Dr. Saiki from the Shibuya Central Hospital. The one looking after his brother. His sister, not his brother. Achi's expression stiffened. He pressed the phone closer to his ear. There's been a sudden change in Suzune's condition. I tried calling your home as well, but got no answer. Achi felt the edges of his vision growing dim. As her brother, it would be good if you can come to the hospital as soon as possible. It's... Achi? Hitomi's voice was full of concern. Sorry, I just gotta make a call here. Fingers trembling, Achi dialed his house. The phone rang several times before switching over to the answering machine. Damn it! Where the hell are you, Dad? Well, what's wrong? Hitomi asked. It's Suzune. Sounds like things have gotten pretty bad. Well, then we need to go to get to the hospital right away, Hitomi said. She sounded as anxious as Achi was. We can't go yet. Achi shook his head quietly. First, we have to save your sister. Hitomi bristled angrily at that. What are you talking about? She grabbed Achi by the arm and shook him. Right now, you need to be thinking about your sister. I can't. I made a promise to Suzune. A promise to help people and see things through to the end when something important is on the line. He struggled to get the words out. If I break that promise, then I really am no good to her. But Hitomi didn't look like she was going to back down. Oi, get back here! A threatening shout ran through from nearby. Achi looked around, startled, and saw a boy about high school age bolting out from behind the building on a side street. Several slightly older young men were hot on his heels. Achi knew their faces all too well. They were all members of SOS. They caught their quarry just before he could make it out onto the main road. Gotcha, newbie. So the kid we were after must have been a member too. Let me go! Oh, we'll let you go, alright. After you pay up. One of the young men snatched the boy up by the collar and shoved him against the wall of a nearby building. Ow! The boy's face scrunched up. What are you talking about? Playing dumb, huh? Interjected one of the onlookers. We told you that all members have to pay monthly dues, yeah? The privilege of getting to call yourself SOS don't come free, after all. Achi felt his blood boil. SOS was trying to pull a shakedown on this new kid under the guise of calling it dues. It would have been unthinkable for them to do something like this back when Achi was running the show. Hey, he barked. Let the kid go. He marched toward the group. Say what now? They turned to look, their faces immediately going pale. Oh, hey, Achi! Let him go. Achi focused his glare on the fellow holding the kid until he released his grip. You guys always around doing stuff like this? None of the gang members answered. They merely turned their gazes glumly to the ground. Hey! Achi turned to the younger boy. Since when have they been doing this? But of course he realized there was no way the newbie would be able to tell him. Never mind. You can go. Achi gestured toward the main road. The boy was quick to run off. Achi waited until the boy was gone before turning back to the others. Does Susumu know you're going around collecting dues like this? He asked. Man, we don't gotta tell you that, one of them muttered. Not since you deserted. What'd you just say? Achi leaned in close, getting right in the guy's face. He was met with a defiant sneer. This ain't the old SOS anymore. Not the old SOS. Achi thought back to the other gang member he'd run into earlier, with a malicious gleam in his eyes. Guy. Pretty sure he said his name was Kiryu. Back when Achi had been with SOS, he'd never have let a guy like that get away with acting all high and mighty. Suddenly, Achi heard a voice from behind him. Well, well. If it ain't our legendary founder. Ooh! An instant later, he took a hard blow to the side of the head. I was just out looking for some small fry, but it looks like I landed me a big one. Oof. Achi's head swam, his vision fading in and out. Before he had a chance to recover, something smashed into his knee. And he's dead. This is a bad ending. He lay crumpled on the ground, unable to retaliate as kicks and punches rained down on him. Even after Achi could no longer move, the beating didn't stop. His ruptured eardrums could barely make out the sound of Hitomi screaming. Yeah, bad end. Definitely a bad end. Hitomi, run! With his final plea silenced before it reached his lips, Achi felt his consciousness battered away. Turned up out of nowhere, but just before he attacked Achi, Kiryu had run to someone else. That person said something that changed what Kiryu did. An individual. Question, needs to say something different to ensure. Well, that doesn't tell me who it is, but we'll find out. Let's do Minorikawa. 'Cause Minorikawa needed to get back to the editing office right away. But despite the urgency, he barely stumbled along. He was swaying on his feet, only half aware of where he was even going. No, this is all some sick joke. He just couldn't accept that Toyama was dead. He let out a lifeless sigh. A cynical smile crept onto his face. Some man always did insist on having his own way. But killing himself? Back when he was still a novice reporter, Minorikawa had written a piece about a middle school girl who'd committed suicide. The school had made a statement denying that bullying had been a factor, and so most of the media had reported that she had suffered a nervous breakdown over entrance exams. But something about the case had kept nagging at him. Had her death really been a suicide? The more people intervened about the incident, the more people he interviewed about the incident, the more his doubts grew. The city news editor, however, would not allow him to conduct a follow-up investigation. And the reason why was simple. This was the sort of thing that happened every day. They couldn't waste time on a case that was already on the books. It was more important for a reporter to find news stories than to squander time engrossed in a case that was all news. Minorikawa understood the editor's decision well enough, but that didn't mean he had to like it. He'd been sulking up on the roof slowly nursing a cigarette, when the paper's local news copy editor, Toyama, happened to drop by. Did they say no to the follow-up interviews? Toyama asked. About that girl's suicide? The name of the girl who killed herself was Chiharu Fuyutsuki. After reading her diary, Minorikawa became convinced it wasn't an ordinary suicide. 6 years from now, Minorikawa will run into a certain teacher, and the investigation into the student's death will be reopened. But that's another story for another time. Oh god, I hope there's a sequel to this game. If that's like dripping down like, hey, sequel potential. This girl? Yeah. Minorikawa expelled a plume of his smoke along with a sigh. Nothing tasted quite as bad as a cigarette when he was down in the dumps. So what are you going to do? I'm not going to do anything, Minorikawa said. Editor told me no. Oh, editor said not to. You sound like a child. The rebuff made Minorikawa's temper flare. There were other interviews to do. I want to follow up on this, but there isn't any time. You dumbass! Toyama hauled off and hit him right across the face. What happened to I write what I feel in my heart? That's the one thing I refuse to look back down on. What happened to the guy who used to bitch at me like that? Toyama's words hit their mark with painful precision. The interviews aren't over until you have what you need. No, you refuse to let them be over. You go after the truth no matter what anyone tells you. Isn't that what being a journalist is all about? Minorikawa scowled in chagrin. The man was exactly right. Until you have what you need. Those words have stuck with Minorikawa ever since. In fact, he'd quit the paper to become a freelancer because he couldn't do his job the way he wanted while trapped in that hierarchy. And now we wondered, what if Toyama hadn't killed himself, but had instead been the victim of a terrorist attack? But after considering the idea for a moment, he thought bitterly, so what? The reasons and the details hardly mattered at this point. What matters is that Toyama was dead. Minorikawa sat down listlessly and stared up at the sky. The blank swath of blue made him feel all the more worn out. Just what had all of the days running around been for? He felt so empty, so hollowed by the loss. All his motivation had drained away. He had no idea of what he should do next. Hey, Minorikawa, what should you do? He tried to listen to his inner voice. You've forgotten your passion, you need to get that back. Stand up right now, you've forgotten your passion, you need to get that back. Yeah, that was his only option, really. He needed to turn back the clock, to reclaim the fire that used to burn inside him. And he knew just how to do that. Before he could, however, a young man stumbled across his path, taking a nasty fall on the pavement. Ow! Damn, that hurts! The youngster scrambled back to his feet and turned to Minorikawa with a snarl. What are you looking at, pal? The young man clutched a piece of timber like a club. There was a nasty gleam in his eyes. I'm not looking at anything, Minorikawa sighed. I just happened to be looking in your direction. Shut your yap! Apologize, bitch! Now! The punk raised his cudgel. What for? You tricked me, man! Ain't you gonna apologize for that? The kid had stumbled all on his own, but was probably too embarrassed to admit it. Guess he's got to vent his anger at someone. Listen, kid, Minorikawa said. It's not my fault you're such a klutz. The hell you just say to me? You got a death wish, pal? With a murderous glare, the punk advanced on him, brandishing his weapon. Hey, Minorikawa said. Is it fun hitting people with that thing? The corner of the punk's mouth curled up. Ah, yeah. Real fun. Only a dumbass beats people with their bare hands. You just wind up hurting your fists. If you're gonna enjoy some violence, you gotta have yourself a weapon. Aha, I see. In that case, maybe give it a rest with that stick, yeah? Did that... Yeah, that did! The bad end is gone. Huh? What for? The punk scowled in irritation. Don't get me wrong, Minorikawa said. I'm just saying there have to be better weapons than that. something that could take a man down in a single blow? The kid stopped to consider Minorikawa's words for a moment. I getcha. Yeah, you might be right about that. I think I have just the thing. May as well go with my usual. He tossed away the piece of wood on the side of the road. Don't you go anywhere till I get back. Got it? Yeah, sure thing. Minorikawa watched as the punk headed back the way he'd come. Man, he murmured. What a dumbass. Looking around, he spotted a taxi parked close by. It was Kimizuka! Do you need a ride, sir? Kimizuka asked, all politeness as he opened the back door. If you're heading to that publishing office again, I can get you there in 10 minutes. Kimizuka's driving was as smooth as always. He wove his way skillfully through the series of back streets. There was some big explosion earlier, he explained. The main roads are gridlocked. Yeah, Minorikawa muttered. I was there when it happened. Oh, wow, really? I'm glad to see you're not hurt then. Still, what a terrible thing. That minivan. I hear someone was inside when it exploded. I'm not sure if you were aware. Yeah, I'm aware. Oh, nothing gets past a reporter like you, I see. Kimizuka flashed Minorikawa an approving smile through the rearview mirror. Rear. How much have you heard then? Rumor has it that the person who died was a middle-aged man. Oh, huh. We taxi drivers tend to hear quite a bit ourselves. Kimizuka chuckled, but Minorikawa just cast his eyes down forlornly. You look tired, sir. Yeah, I guess so. His reply was barely audible. Suddenly, someone rushed out into the street right in front of the cab. Oh, Achi! There was a heavy thunk as the taxi crashed into the pedestrian. Screeching to a halt, Kimizuka and Minorikawa jumped out of the vehicle to find a young man splayed out on the street. Hey, the driver called. You alright? The fallen pedestrian. Now we gotta go back to Achi and make sure he doesn't run out into the street. Kimizuka hunkered down and jostled his shoulder. Then his expression stiffened in alarm. Minorikawa checked the young man's pulse, but couldn't detect any heartbeat. Oh no, Kimizuka said. Tears began to well up in his eyes. Minorikawa turned to him in surprise. You knew him? I did. Kimizuka cradled the young man in his arms. I'm sorry, but you have to find yourself another taxi, he said. I'm going to turn myself in to the police. Looking down at the boy's unmoving form, Minorikawa felt a pain of guilt. No, he said. I'm the one who's been asking you to drive around so recklessly all day. This is on me too. But I'll go with you to the cops. The two men decided to head to the station together to surrender themselves. There probably wouldn't be time to work on writing the articles while they were being interrogated. But that was just how it had to be. This was the right thing to do. Minorikawa just had to keep telling himself that, knowing that it was the truth. Yeah, now we gotta go back to Achi and make sure he doesn't run into the middle of the street. Yeah. Oh, man. So, we fixed the bad end for Achi, but ended up getting a bad end for Minorikawa because of Achi. So, we're going to continue Achi's block in the next episode. Till then, this is the Gamer Girl signing off. Bye-bye.